Well, it's a very good morning from him, and of course it's a very good morning for me. Hello and welcome to my mortgage live stream. We're well into summer now, aren't we? Enjoying all the fruits of the summertime. I went swimming this morning down the Lido, which is brilliant. Cheltenham Lido here. And let's go on there, shall we? So we can see it live. And I went swimming in the morning because it was beautiful and sunny. It was just great, you know. I thought, well, this is the life, you know. You've got to get back, haven't you, pretty quickly to get on with your work. So quite a few good things for you this morning in our live stream, and I hope we're all good with you. Hope you're enjoying yourself. Either you're on your hollybobs, or you're working, or you're just ready for the autumn to start kicking off. Got a few topics then. So first of all, just wanted to pick up on a bit of news you probably read about actually. There's this tech company, and there's lots of tech companies coming in now with fancy names, aren't they? And they reckon they've passed CMAP. You probably read about it. You know, AI tool passes CMAP. Now, the fact is the AI in America passed the bar, which is like a lawyer's exam, so it's a lot more complicated than CMAP. And it does tickle me because I don't think the guys down at the LIBF would have allowed a computer to take CMAP because they wouldn't have got through the identification routine, would they? And it does remind me, actually, many, many years ago, because we talk about past exams, I was offered the princely sum of £500 cash to take somebody's exam. That's back in 92, I think it was. £500 cash, this bloke wanted me to take the exam. So you can obviously pay the AI now to do the exam for you. So again, it's just a publicity stunt, and it's quite interesting to hear, isn't it, what's going on there. Anyway, let's get into some topics. Now today, actually maybe it was today or yesterday, I don't know, is my 40th anniversary. Yeah, obviously I've not been married 40 years, and I'm certainly not been living 40 years. I've been living a lot longer than that. But it's the 40th anniversary of my very first endowment policy sale. Can you imagine that? 40 years ago today. In 1983, when I was working in the Building Society at Walton-on-Thames in Surrey, I sold my first endowment policy to a customer. It was a Friends Provident endowment policy, and I remember it well because the inspector popped round that afternoon and took me out for lunch, a very liquid lunch as well, if I can remember. It's a long, long time ago. So I just wanted to give you a little potted history of how endowments have fared since then, because they're still in the syllabus, the exams for CMAPs and stuff, and no doubt you're probably learning, or did learn them when you did your CMAP. So I just want to give you a bit of a potted history, really. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek, but it's actually quite important to understand Paul's 40th anniversary of his first advice of giving endowments. Of course, 1983, there was no such thing as advice. You know, you did the selling. We weren't even regulated then. But I worked for a building society, and as you can appreciate, I was well trained and looked after. We had morals and ethics and all those good things. Not that anybody else did in the marketplace. So in 1983 was my first successful sale. So let's put that down. This is like a history of endowments for you. So I sold my first policy. There you go. I didn't earn any money from it because I was employed, but I was quite happy with that in 1983. Now, 1984, we had this piece of kit called InView system. I bet you nobody listening, if you're listening to this now, bet you don't remember InView, unless of course you're as old as I am. InView was a very rudimentary computer system that would compare the costs of a repayment mortgage with an interest only with endowment. We used to call them endowment mortgages and repayment mortgages back then. And it compared the costs of the two. You know, you input the client's details, etc., went to the insurance companies and gave you a comparison cost. Of course, what we tried to do is to make the endowment cheaper than the repayment mortgage with level term assurance or decreasing term assurance. And this InView system would print out the figures on a piece of like toilet paper, it was, and you just tear it off and you stick it to the brochure, and that was the way we did our KFDs back in the day. So that was the InView system. I thought was great as well. In 1985, I remember being wined and dined because I was getting quite good at selling endowment policies, working in the building society business. I used to do mortgage interviews all day and Saturdays, and I used to sell mortgage endowments because we were told to do so. Honestly, that's the way it worked. We were told to do so, and I did as well. So I used to get wined and dined by the inspectors, as they call it. You know, they call them BDMs now, but back in the day they were called inspectors because their job was to inspect you to see if you were worthy of selling their endowment products. I used to love that bit as well. Okay, things change. Let's whiz forward to 1988. In 1988, we became regulated for the first time. And we all had to take exams, and I joined the PRU as a life assurance salesman because I was fed up earning no money. I joined the PRU and started selling with profit endowments at the time. Remember that, with profit endowment policies. The PRU only had with profits. and I carried on doing that. We had the right to buy, and we had all sorts of benefits to help us to propel the marketplace. In '91, I moved to Black Horse Life, as they say, and I started selling unit-linked endowment policies because they're the only product they had. Black Horse Life was a brand new insurance company, like all the banks, and I started selling unit-linked endowment policies, which was brilliant. And I remember at the time, I had this client, and I was working, for the Black Horse Life, part of an estate agency group. And I had this one client, and I did the costs for the two, endowment and repayment. And the commission for the endowment mortgage was going to earn me £3,500. A lot of money. It was a big mortgage. And the commission for the equivalent decreasing term assurance was about £300. Now that was the problem with the sector, because there was me, £3,500 commission or £300 commission. Now I was on pretty good basics. I didn't really worry too much about that because I went for the best advice, which actually was the repayment mortgage. The bloke was a US citizen, and he was going to head back to the US in 6 or 7 years' time, so an endowment would have been totally irrelevant. But I imagine there'd be a few people that would have flogged the policy term. So it started to get quite intense with targets and numbers and things, and insurance companies wanted to earn their monies, and that's when things started to go wrong. Because although we were regulated, the education in financial services was appalling. There was no compulsory exams until '94. Training competence came in. Obviously, I worked for big firms, so they did good training, but there was an awful lot of people who were just not trained at all and didn't know an awful what they were talking about. In '96, you had this thing called PEPs started coming in. These were the predecessor to the ISA. Now, these were stocks and share investments which had tax benefits. Of course they did. And they began to compete against endowments as better vehicles, less charges involved, more transparent. And that occurred in '96 onwards. In '97, the first shortfalls began to be recognised. Because these endowments, when they were all sold in the '80s, we projected the growth at what we'd done in the past. It's a bit like in the football Premiership, for example, English Premiership. You've got Man City who keep winning every year, don't they? You could probably predict that Man City will probably carry on winning for the next 2-5 years because they always do. That's how we projected our investment growth. We've already done these massive growth rates. We were going to carry on doing so, but it started to come down. You see, the stock market started to drop a bit. First shortfalls were noted in sort of '97. In 2000, even more shortfalls, and that's when we started to have mis-selling accusations, because clients were getting shortfall letters from the insurance companies, and they thought, well, hold on, I wasn't told this, so I was missold. So of course people used to sort of say, back in the '80s, I was missold this endowment. And of course that became rife as well, and throughout the history, of course, of mis-selling. In 2008, I sold my with profit policy I bought back then on the on the second-hand traded endowment policy market. Rather than cash it in, I sold it, and I made a bit of money actually, because the performance started to increase a bit more. So there, there's a potted history of endowments, 40-year anniversary. So if you want to send me a little card, you can do. I'd be happy to accept your congratulations. But a bit of a sorry story, really, of a product that was designed to help customers. Of course it was. Was it consumer duty friendly? Not really. It was designed to pay good commissions to insurance salespeople, because that's how the market worked. And the product is long gone, but it's still testing the exam, and we still need to have a good understanding about how it works. Anyway, let's move on, shall we, from endowments. On the subject of endowments, and one of the criticisms of endowments is they had some horrendously horrible charges, because fund growth was like 8-10%, so you could throw a few charges in there and it kind of disappeared with the fund growth, and that's how it worked. So what I want to do now is pick up with you on charges of investment products, just sort of clear a few things with you along the way. That's sort of just a bit of a CPD and a bit of an updating if you're doing the exams. So I'm going to head over to that whiteboard because I want to. This is one that I've already pre-prepared for you. Save a bit of time, you see. We're talking about investment charges on products. Now remember, the endowment policy, which I just talked about, had what I call old charges. Now the old charges, which you might come across in the exam, were pretty ferocious things. Old charges in products used to have policy fees. Now we're talking here about how these products are paid for. In other words, who pays for the people that run these things? Old policies used to have policy fees, particularly if they were a monthly direct debit type arrangement. Of course, endowment policies were monthly. The policy fee would range from £1.50, £2, £2, £3 a month, just taken out of the policy, just to pay for admin and stuff like that, really. You don't tend to see so much of that anymore unless it's a regular premium policy. Now, of course, if it was unit linked, you used to have a bid offer spread. It's still around now, of course, but being replaced with OICs now. The bid offer spread, if it was a unit linked endowment, would have a roughly a 5% difference between the offer price and the bid price. When you bought units, you bought them at the offer price, and when you sold them back to the investment company, you sold them at the bid price, bid to get rid. So there was always a 5% difference. So there was a nice little charge they used to get every time people bought units and sold units. They took a little bit of a charge there along the way. But the worst one was called nil allocation. Here we go. Nil allocation was a way of paying commission, really. And what happened is, if it was a unit linked policy and you paid your premium, say £100 a month, then you would buy units, allocated units, and units would build up, wouldn't they? But what would happen in the first couple of years is they'd have nil allocation of units. In other words, you didn't buy any units. You had nothing, because that used to go to pay for the commission, which was eye-wateringly high. Sometimes you had a low allocation, but invariably it was nil for a couple of years, which is why the surrender value of these things was very low in the first few years. Now, a lot of that's gone now, but we still have investments, of course, in unit trusts, OICs, investment trusts, all done in platforms now, aren't they? We're talking here about regular premium or lump sum investments. So let's just talk about the charges now that are appropriate. By the way, all of these charges are illustrated in the KID. There you go. Now, that's not a Pretender's track from the 70s, or was it 80s? That stands for Key Investor Information. So the Key Investor, there you go, info doc. IFAs give these out when they help people to give people advice on investments. Mortgage brokers don't get involved in KIDs. We have KFIs, just another acronym for you. So, of course, all the information is given there on the KID, as you can appreciate. So, what have we got? Well, first of all, we have the IFA fee. Now, IFAs, of course, don't earn commission anymore. They charge fees to customers. So some IFAs will just charge a hourly or daily fee or a lump sum fee or a retainer fee, which they charge to clients. If they don't charge a fee, they will often have a fund management charge. So fund management charge typically around about the 5%. What that means is they get their fee, but they get it from the lump sum the customer's invested. That's pretty much happens. So if the customer invests £100,000, they'll just take 5% of that. And that's their initial fee for giving the advice, which, is fair enough, I suppose, when you look at it like that. Now, we do still have bid offer spreads on old unit trusts, but unit trusts are pretty much gone now. And unit linked bonds have pretty much gone now as well. Most of it's done in OICs or investment trusts or ETFs. That's the modern world for you. But the bid offer spread, you see, used to pay for dealing fees, buying, selling shares under the scene. But now that's replaced pretty much by what they call a dealing charge, which is a charge, or they call it a dilution duty. It's a lovely phrase, isn't it? OICs call them dilution duties, where they pretty much, everyone who buys and sells, not everybody buys and sells, you see. Some of you just leave it there. So they dilute the cost amongst all the people that do the dealings and those people that don't. So it's just a fee they charge for the dealing costs, really, which is fine. Then you have the fund management charge. Again, we got that one there. Now the fund management charge is the charge that's given to the people who run it. Now we're talking here mostly about active funds versus passive. Active, of course, is where a fund manager, team of people, they try to outperform indexes by picking good stocks and making good decisions. It's incredibly complex work, and they use computers a lot for that as well. But there's people behind the scenes. Because they are people actively managing the fund, they make a charge for it. It can be anything from 1% plus, or less than that, of course. But I'm talking about active funds, not passive ones. Passive ones coming to in a second. So that's taken annually. So quite a lot of charges coming through so far on that one. The one that's under the microscope at the moment with consumer duty and charges, etc., is the ongoing advice fee. Here we go. The ongoing advice fee. A little bit contentious. The whole point behind this, and it can be up to sort of 0.25% of the value of your fund. I mean, all these percents add up, don't get me wrong. And what happens that for? That's taken annually, usually monthly deducted, and it pays for the financial advisor's ongoing advice. She looks after the client's needs, she does regular fact finding, she changes circumstances, etc. And she charges for that, which is why IFAs sell their books, their funds under management to these aggregator companies. They're worth a fortune because they just cream money. They just make money all the time. So that's the ongoing advice fee. Last one for you, which is worth just sneaking in there, is called the platform fee. Now, the platform itself in which you invest this, it could be Hargreaves Lansdown, Vanguard. There's loads of different platforms now. They're computer dashboards where all the investments are held there. There might be a little fee from the platform. It could be a fixed fee. It could be a tiny percentage as well, which comes through. What's going on? Well, as you can appreciate, a lot of people are going more to the passive investments. I mean, I have one with Vanguard, and I think my charge is 0.15% in total. I'll write that down for you. I didn't get any advice. I didn't really want any. So there's no fund management charge. I would say initial charge for the IFA. There's no IFA fee. There's a fund management charge, but it's a passive fund I use with Vanguard. And obviously it's done by computers. They're just following indexes. That's all they're doing, which is great. So I think I'm charged about 0.15 or 0.2% in total, rather than all these fees that go on. So when you have something that's more passive, there you go, let's put that in there for you, it's a lots lower cost when it comes to it, which is interesting, isn't it? So that's charges, really. What will happen, I think, in the future? I think these will start to become more competitive as AI and computers and algorithms take over the investing. They do already with passive investments, all done by computers anyway. But the active stuff now, we're getting AI now that can start to outperform some humans in making decisions, not just following an index. So I think these fees will start to come down. IFA fees are under the microscope at the moment. I've already seen a couple of the big firms reducing their fund management charges and things, and their platform fees are starting to come down. Whether they'll start reducing the IFA fees, the personal fees, I don't know. That comes down to how protective the industry is. So there's no union membership going on, so we'll see how that pans out in the future. But at least we haven't got these horrible things anymore. They were really nasty, and they were covered by endowment policies who used to pay huge amounts of commission to the salespeople. An update for you on charges. Hope that's been useful. Bye. All right, let's play that back over, shall we? We've got a final topic for you, really, which I wanted to share with you, which I guess is kind of a new product, really. This final one, which I want to share with you, and we're going to go to the whiteboard across there for this one. This is all about a new mortgage scheme called a green mortgage. Now, if you're a practicing mortgage broker, you've probably come across green mortgages. So let's pick up on green mortgages, shall we? And we'll take out my my endowment there. There you go. Let's get rid of that. Now, you might have come across these things. You might have looked at them and wondered what on earth that's going on with that. But we're talking here about green mortgages. Now, of course, the word green means environmentally friendly. Here you go. Green mortgages. And is it NatWest, I think it was? Or Lloyd's, one of them, who were reducing their rates the other day, and they made a big song and dance about reducing their green mortgage. I think it was NatWest that offer that as a product transfer as well. Is it a new fad, or is it a serious contender for the mortgage broker? You know, you're giving advice to clients, and you might recommend a green mortgage. Well, first of all, what is a green mortgage? Well, it's a mortgage just like any other loan, but what it does is it gives incentives to the borrower to buy a property that's energy efficient. So what we're talking about here is we're talking about a property, and we're talking about a mortgage. There you go. Now, the mortgage is offered, normal rates, fixed, whatever, but it's designed to buy a property that's very, very energy efficient. So, you know, we've got all these grades now, A, B, C, D, E, for properties, and it's going to be well insulated. It's going to have air source heat pumps and solar panels up on the roof. You know, let's put a solar panel there for you. It's massively energy efficient and environmentally friendly, of course. So, you know, what's not to like about that? They also offer this mortgage, green mortgage, for people who are buying a property and will convert the property to be more environmentally friendly and energy efficient. So, extra money required to do that, maybe further advances, etc., in the future as well. Now, what's the benefit to the customer? Well, obviously they'll feel good, because people are like that. It's all about emotion, isn't it? People buy on emotion, don't they? What's your mortgage? Oh, we have a green mortgage. Oh, do you, darling? That's lovely. Tell me all about that. Well, it's environmentally friendly. Do you imagine the dinner party conversation? So there's some psychology going on here as well. Don't underestimate how humans operate. They bristle with emotions and they make decisions on emotion, not factual information. Often it's a lower percentage interest rate, which is good for the pounds, shillings and pence, isn't it? Higher loan to values, because these properties are in demand, energy efficient properties. So higher loan to values because the lender's not taking so much of a risk on the property. And because it's energy efficient, it's going to be in top notch good nick as well. So they will often loan higher loan to values as well. Usually lower fees as well, because they're quite profitable mortgages. Because the people that take these mortgages are probably those people that don't go into arrears, always make their payments. They've done their demographics, they've done their checks as well. And of course, in the buy-to-let marketplace, it's all change anyway, buy-to-lets, because the rules are changing in the buy-to-let marketplace, aren't they? Where from 2025, let's put the date for you, they're going to have to, all landlords are going to have to make sure their properties are at least C rated. So you've got your A, B, C, D, E, F, I think, and the lower the letter, the worse it is. So if something is really environmentally friendly and energy efficient, it's going to be an A, B or C. So they've got to make their properties C rated before they can rent it out by law. How good is that? Good idea, that. Whether they'll do that with vanilla mortgages, I don't know. NatWest one's pretty good mortgage actually. I'm with them, NatWest. I might convert to a green mortgage. Maybe that's the thought. Maybe get some incentive to get an air source heat pump in the back. Although these things are enormous, apparently. I don't think we've got any room out the back there. But it's 0.2% cheaper, so it's actually more competitive as well. But the thing is, of course, is this a fad, or is this a serious contender? Or are NatWest mortgages introducing a green mortgage to pacify Nigel Farage? But we won't go there because that's politics. And Nigel Farage is looking for his next thing to rebel against. Anyway, love the bloke. You hate him. He's a bit like Marmite, really, isn't it? So that's green mortgages, something which you just need to be aware of for the exam, but also for the marketplace in which you're involved in. Well done. Okay, alrighty. So let's wrap up and get on. We're not going to be here next Monday because it's a bank holiday, and it's my wife's birthday. So we're going to have a bit of a celebration, probably, which will be nice. So no live stream next Monday because most of you will probably be on your holidays anyway, or enjoying the weather, whatever there for you. It's September soon. We've finished our revamp of our entire on-demand CMAP, equity release and protection courses. We've got boot camps with videos, we've got audios, got new audios coming through, we've got test packs now, we've upgraded those with new fangled online test systems where you just put the answer and it tells you you're right or not. So we've got great new products coming in. We're just launching those in September. They're available, but we're going to launch them with a bit of a fanfare. Why not? So that you can buy those. Keeping the boot camp pegged at the same price this year to help you out as much as possible. So really pleased to launch those as well. Got a busy autumn coming up as well. I hope you guys are busy as well in your business. As always, if you wanted to do a quick check to see if you're on our database, our member list, there's the scan there. Just click on that and enter your details and we'll get you on our member list, and we keep you informed of things, special deals, courses we got coming up, that sort of thing. So we're going to keep you as busy as we possibly can over the next few months. Other than that, I wish you the very best to enjoy your weekends, bank holiday weekend coming up, whatever you're planning to do, barbecues or down to the seaside or whatever is your cup of tea, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.